This is the third first-person shooter video, and what we're going to be doing in this one is animating our gun. So at the moment when you press play, the gun simply follows as a child to the parent of the first-person controller. What we want to do is we want to add in an animation, so when we click our mouse button, it's going to recoil the gun to mimic an animation of what a gun would actually look like if it was shooting. So to do this, we want to make sure that in our hierarchy we've selected our gun, our M9, and then over at our window here, down the bottom on the project window, we want to make sure that we have an animation tab open. So with this animation tab, you can see that it says to begin animating M9s, because we've got the M9 selected there. We're going to then press create. Now I'm wanting you to create an animation called gun shot, all one word, and make sure you're using the correct capital letters that I am, because we're going to call upon this animation later in the code. If you have called it something different, it will not work. So you will need to update the code if you have called something different. So make sure we are not using any spaces because the code doesn't like spaces. So I'm going to hit save, and you can see here that it's created our animation timeline. Now I'm only going to be animating this gun on a rotation basis because I'm going to rotate it up slightly and then back down to kind of mimic that recoil. So I'm going to add the property, falls under transform, and I'm going to come to rotation and click the little plus button. Now you can see here that it's automatically created a keyframe at the start and a keyframe at the end, and this keyframe is the position of what the gun's in right now. So if I go into my scene here and I turn it onto rotation, I'm going to hit my record button. You can see that the timeline's gone red, as well as the rotation up here has gone red. And this is exactly what we want it to do, because we're now going to record on this timeline some other keyframes. So I'm just going to move it to 0.05, and I'm going to drag the gun up, and then I'm also going to click, hold, and select these final ones and put them at 0.01. So right now if I was to play the animation, you can see that it's animating and mimicking the recoil of the gun, which is exactly what we want. So if I stop that and hit and turn off the record button, you can see that it's recorded just a 10-second animation. If I was to play the game right now, the gun should be just recoiling the whole time because we haven't actually coded when we want that to be triggered. So if I walk around, it's just going to continue repeating that animation. What we want to do now is set our gun up, and we want to add on some code so it knows when to play that animation. So what we want to do is, with our M9 selected over here, come back to your project window, and then over in our inspector window we need to do the following. With this animator here, we don't want it. We want to turn that off. So we're going to remove the component. What we want to add instead is an animation, and we're going to drag and drop into this animation variable the gunshot that we've created. Now with this gunshot, it's coming up here saying the gunshot used by the animation must be marked as legacy. That's easy to do. Select your gunshot, and up in the inspector window up here, I'm going to come across next to the little padlock, there's 3 lines there, and I'm going to hit debug. And under debug here you can see legacy, and it's requesting that we select and tick that. This is just making it a legacy animation, so it's going to play properly. And I'm going to go back and turn it back to normal. So going back to my gun in my hierarchy here, I've added an animation, and also in our code it's going to ask for an audio clip, because that's part of the code that's been written, and the audio clip is going to be the sound of a gunshot. So then when we click our mouse button down, it's going to play the gunshot and it's going to play the audio clip, which is then going to look like an actual gun going off. So add component, and we're going to add in an audio source, and this is basically just going to then call upon this clip. Now in our project window down the bottom, in our first person shooter folder, we have an audio folder here. Make sure we've got our M9 selected, and we're going to drag and drop a clip into audio clip here. The one that we want is this first one, but you can put any audio clips in if you don't like the sound of these, and you just select the gun and drag and drop this into the variable there. So we've got our animation, the gunshot. We don't want it to automatically play. We're going to call upon it. So we turn that off, and with our audio source, we don't want it to play on awake. This means that when we hit play on our game, it's going to sound the audio straight away. We don't want to do that either, so we'll turn that off. So what we want to do now is, in our assets, first person shooter, we're going to open our scripts, and the one that we're going to add is gunfire. So over the side here is basically the rundown. You can see that we are calling upon an audio source which we've added, and we're getting a component animation which is the gunshot. We have done all of this, so I'm going to click and drag and put this onto the gun. So if I was to play it now, if I click, see, it plays the animation and it also plays the gunshot. So it doesn't do anything else. We haven't added any code to shoot anything and kill it, or shoot anything and destroy the object, but it has added that sound effect and the animation.